Exactly. So you can really see how these early experiences laid a really solid foundation
For sure.
for what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, you can see those skills starting to develop.
Yeah.
But then around 2011, we see a pretty significant shift.
Yeah.
She moves into independent consulting with Executive Edgeworks, LLC.
Yeah, what do you think prompted that?
I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but it does suggest maybe a desire for more autonomy.
Maybe.
Or perhaps a recognition that these skills that she's developed,
Right.
they could be applied more broadly.
Right.
And then from 2012 to 2016, she's working as an independent consultant and trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where things start to get really interesting in terms of the diversity of projects that she takes on.
Okay. Yeah. This is where it starts to get a little bit less linear.
It does, yeah.
So one notable area is her work with a national dental consulting firm.
A dental consulting
Yeah,
firm.
yeah.
Yeah, this is where we see that jump.
Yeah. So she developed coaching programs
Mm-hmm.
focusing on human behavior trends, leadership, and communication, all aimed at increasing sales productivity for dental practices.
So it's still consulting,
Right.
but it's a whole different world.
Yeah, it's a far cry from the world of high finance.
It really is. I mean, what do you make of that leap?
Well, I think what's fascinating here is that underlying principle of understanding people and processes to drive specific outcomes. So while the context is vastly different, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about financial instruments versus dental practice sales.
Totally different worlds.
The core skills of analyzing needs developing effective strategies
Right.
and communicating those strategies clearly.
That's the through line.
That's the through line.
Yeah.
And, her experience in managing those complex software implementations,
Yeah.
it probably gave her a really good framework for thinking about how to design and roll out these coaching programs.
Right, because it's still about, identifying a need,
Absolutely.
coming up with a solution,
Right.
and then, basically training people on how to implement that solution.
Exactly. And it raises the question, how often do we limit ourselves by thinking our skills are only relevant to one specific industry? That's a really good question for our listeners to consider.
Right, because you might have more transferable skills than you realize.
Didn't you think? Yeah.
It's just about figuring out how to apply them in different contexts.
And it wasn't just the dental industry either.
Okay.
She was also designing and developing training curriculum for a financial operations group in Denver.
Okay, so she's not totally abandoning her finance background.
Right. She's bringing it back in, but in a different way.
Right, she's applying it to this training expertise,
Mm-hmm.
Tailoring it to specific departmental and company objectives.
It shows a real adaptability,
Yeah.
and an ability to quickly grasp the needs of different organizations.
I think for anyone listening who's, maybe facing a career change,
Right.
it just shows that it can be done.
Yeah.
You can take your existing skills and they might be relevant in fields that you haven't even considered.
Right. And it's about thinking about the core of what you're good at and not just, the specific job title.
Exactly.
And then around 2015, we see another pretty big pivot.
Okay, what is it this time?
This time she moves into the world of commercial real estate.
Commercial real estate?
Wow. Okay. So she becomes a principal/VP in a CRV owner's representative firm.
Okay, so another pretty big jump.
It is. But again, if you look closely, you can see those project management skills coming back into play.
Mm-hmm.